Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living with Dementia. We're proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. Some of our programs are recorded, and some are made available for viewing through our YouTube channel for future use. I am Martha Brown, your host for today. Today, Peggy Spier is coming to us from the Carter, and she's showing us Artful Moments with art from their collection that has to do with eyeglasses. And Peggy, I'm wondering if you have any Buddy Holly. I'm turning it over to you.
All right. We do not have Buddy Holly, but I did a deep dive on one of the glasses, and it was very interesting about the celebrity connection to one of these glasses.
Okay.
Let me share the screen. There we go. All right. Well, we're going to start here with a painting in the style of Trump Lloyd. We've talked about this term before. We've seen artwork that was Trump Lloyd in the past. Does anyone remember, this is the Jeopardy question of the day, what Trump Lloyd translates to? It's a French word. I feel like, Martha, it was on the tip of your tongue.
It fools the eye.
Yes, you got it, sister. That's the direct translation. It means fools the eye. So Haverl was one of 3 artists that was really well known in the United States for this. And we've looked at the other 2. We've looked at Pedo, and he was the one. I can't remember if we've looked at Pedo, but we've also looked at Barnett, and he's the one that did the painting of the little African American boy wearing the paper hat with the soldier broomstick.
Yes.
That's another version of Trump Lloyd. That was a portrait, which that was the only portrait that particular artist ever did. A lot of times they were almost all the time they were working in still lives like this. You can think of other artworks that, of the bunny that's hanging in front of a door, that kind of, or the French horn that's hanging in front of a wood background. That is all in this Trump Lloyd style. Haverl is really well known for painting paper, particularly money. So good at it that the government came after him for forgery. Yeah.
This is a painting, not a photograph.
It's a painting, not a photograph.
Oil on canvas.
That's impressive.
So what did they do about the
It ended up being like a case of you got the wrong guy situation. I mean, he made a living off of making these paintings. So he started getting really good at it, and then that's when they came after him, and he was like, "No, I'm just doing this to paint. I'm not creating."
Somebody must have been cutting up his paintings and trying to pass it off as
I wonder. I know, it makes you wonder. But so he was really good. A lot of times in these paintings, you can see too the postage stamps. That was another one of his little trademarks. He's really good at painting that. The dollar or the monetary papers, he was really good at. A lot of times he does include some eyeglasses that are either hanging or they're like resting. The bridge of it is resting on the nail. So he got really good at that was one of the other things he got really good at. He had a bit of a sense of humor too. And you can see there's a newspaper clipping here. In the painting, we saw the little black boy wearing the paper hat. That artist would just draw a black line and go back in with something kind of like a toothpick to do the ups and downs of the letters that would appear on a newspaper. Here, this artist actually wrote individual words. And so the words, this is hard to tell on this reproduction, but the words read, the first line says, entirely with a brush and with the naked eye. So you assume that they were singing his praises before what he's painting. The next start of the paragraph, imitation number 34, I believe it was. That's an artwork that had just recently been on exhibition by John Haverl. Is one of those I can't read my own writing. One of those pieces of artistic mechanism showing an ordinary black, green back and other objects. I cannot even read my own writing.
What's that?
But it's basically, he wrote a fake review of how good another one of his artworks was.
Mhm.
He was not a humble man, but he did actually, the imitation, the artwork that he's referencing did receive a lot of critical acclaim. Not exactly, he's not pulling it from any actual true newspaper. This he wrote himself, but he had made a name for himself creating these still lives. And this one's pretty tiny. It's 7 by 11 inches. I remember the Pedo. Pedo was the one that did the, not Pedo. Another, I don't think it was him. He did the one with the break the nail or break the nuts, and it was all the shards of glass, and he would try
Oh,
to.
yes, yeah.
So that was like all happening at the same time.
Mhm.
Okay, so we see eyeglasses here.
They're hanging on a, looks like they're hanging on a thread on a pin.
Yeah, they look like they might be broken.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
they might be, yeah.
So I can't, but you can, I mean, and they've got a break in the glass. And
A
again,
crack in the
this
glass,
picture
yeah.
is not doing justice to how lifelike it is when you see it in real
There
life.
might not even be a lens on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so if you were to give him a Google, you would often see paint, stamps, and glasses.
So is this a stamp with Benjamin Franklin on it?
I can't tell who's on the stamp. I think it's a 1 cent stamp though. So if you are like a stamp buff, I wonder if there was ever a time where Franklin was on the 1 cent stamp.
Well, I know, but Benjamin Franklin invented the eyeglasses, right?
Mhm.
You're right, and the bifocals. You might be that might be
Bifocals, yeah,
some of
bifocals,
his
yeah.
humor that because this artist had that kind of humor where it's one of them he painted. It's called The Bachelor, and it's like movie stubs or play stubs and other things you might do as a single man. And then there's one of the pieces of paper that's pinned to the board is baby names, so you get the impression his time of bachelorhood might be coming to an end because there's a book of baby names.
I don't think the lens on that one is cracked. I think it's a bifocal.
You think?
I think so.
Yeah, it's hard to tell here, but it's
Yeah.
not. Then I think you're right. This might be
Right,
missing
there's
on
nothing
the
there,
other
but it
side.
almost looks like a bifocal lens, an older bifocal lens.
Well, I got it zoomed in. I got zoom,
Okay.
and it actually is one scratch across the front, and shows a break on the other side.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
No problem.
I zoomed in mine. I had to make sure I didn't zoom in too far, otherwise it was blurred. But
I was going to say
Yeah,
it makes it
understand.
blurry.
when I brought it back out, close, open it up again, it was,
Yeah.
I could see
Well,
better.
I
Okay.
feel like we're now living in a world where even when you're looking at like a still frame that's not on a screen, you want to go like that to it just because.
Yes.
I know.
So I took a picture of the artwork. I took a picture on the wall of the newspaper. You can't
Yeah.
really see it.
Oh,
So
cool.
I could do exactly that. Zoom in to then read the words. So
You
it's
went
not
the
all
extra
high
mile
tech
for
here
us.
over at the museum. Okay. So we've got some glasses not on a face here. We then in the collection had I think this is such a beautiful photograph by a photographer based out of New York named Victor Kepler. And he's a New Yorker. This is a 9x7 picture, but it was used for advertising. He was almost exclusively a commercial photographer. We've looked at pictures of his in the past. I can't remember which ones, but we have seen some of his commercial work in other sessions. But he worked was commissioned to do a campaign for American Optical Company. Have any of you heard of that eyeglass company before?
I have not.
It's It was the oldest, it's the oldest US optical company to date. It was founded in 1833. And it's luxury eyewear nowadays. Since like 1933, it really kind of became the luxury eyeglass brand in the United States. So they were able to hire and commission, famous artists and photographers of the day to work on their campaigns, similar to, some of the artists and photographers, artists today that have worked for Louis Vuitton or, Gucci, things like that. They were able to commission this photographer. In 1927, this company also commissioned Norman Rockwell, the painter. Have any of you all heard of Norman Rockwell?
Mhm.
They commissioned him to paint 6 paintings of ophthalmologists or opticians.
Ophthalmologists,
Yeah.
opticians.
Yeah, that's the word. That's a tough one for me. And people wearing the AO or American Optic glasses. So they were able to really get their name across the American population through advertising and then popular art.
I think we've seen one of those Norman Rockwells in your collection. Do you not have one of those?
We do not have one in our collection, and we haven't had one on view, I want to say, since 2013. It was the one, where the parents are holding the turkey, that one. So we have not looked at any of Norman Rockwell's paintings.
I've seen one. It seems in the last couple of years, so it's must have been on Facebook or someplace like that.
Yeah, I mean, Norman Rockwell is one of those artists that pops up everywhere. You'll see him on billboards still and things like that. So you definitely have seen him probably in the last 6 months and definitely in the last 2 years.
So I'm having a little bit of trouble with perspective on here. I see some glasses that look like they're laying face with the bottom, they actually look like eyeglasses. I see some things that look like they're sort of look like some eyeglasses, but they're not like that. They're in the middle. There's one.
These are all the same. One of the AO frames.
Okay.
They're all facing the same direction, so you can see the earpiece. That's all pointing towards the right, and then the eyeglasses are all pointing towards the left. And he's using light from off camera to then cast a shadow.
Oh, okay.
What we see. So he's able to create this pattern using something that they're selling, but you, Don, you had to take a second to realize what you were looking at because you just saw the pattern before you saw the object.
Yes. Yeah. It's difficult to understand without thinking about light.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Thank you. I understand it better now. Thank you.
Yeah. So this was used for a marketing campaign. All right. Now, moving away from just straight up glasses, our collection has tons of portraits of people known, people unknown, famous people who are family members wearing glasses. So a lot of photographs, a lot of, here are 2 lithographs that were both done at the Cameron studio in LA. Ruth Asawa, we've looked at her work before. I could not find anything on who Fritz and Larry were, but you can see it's like this merging of faces that they kind of look like they're sharing glasses. It kind of looks like his face looks this guy's face, and then it morphs into this other guy's face. But
I see, yeah.
The glasses kind of seem to be that connecting bridge between the 2 portraits.
Yeah.
And this is a lithograph. It looks like it might have been penciled, like hand drawn. It was hand drawn on the lithograph and then printed, but it had that graphite effect to it, even though we're using a lithograph print. And so Ruth Asawa, just for the connection in the past, she's the one who she had, I want to say 7 kids. She lived in San Francisco, was brought down to LA, and was very motherly and ended up making dinner almost every night for all of the printers in the,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, you told me that, yeah.
yeah, so I want to maybe say these could have been two of her printers that she did a portrait of, but I could not find anything about it. So that was just me speculating. And I'm sure a curator somewhere is cringing that I'm even suggesting that, but that might be my hunch.
Yeah, the way that the pictures align is that the alignment of the eyes show that they're actually kind of sharing the same eye. One
Yeah,
guy's
it's pretty
the left
cool.
eye of one guy in the, yeah.
So I wish I knew more about who these people might be. But they seem to be a closeness to each other, or maybe to her, because of that blending of that feature. And then on the right, we see another portrait of an artist love untitled. So I could not find who this man was, but this artist is super interesting. Just a little history on him. He was a survivor of Auschwitz. He was brought to the camp in 1944 and survived, and was the only one in his family who survived. So when he saw a lot of horror, a lot of just unimaginable things, and then left Poland, went to kind of bounced around maybe in Europe, and then ended up in the United States in New York. And so here we see a picture of, he specialized, or he didn't specialize, he created a lot of portraits of imbeciles, goons, kind of bulbous looking faces in people. And here he's got that bulbous kind of hat and shoulder and face and nose. So this is pretty classic of his style, but he was often using a lot of color. Here he's not.
So
his name, his Marion was not.
I was going to say that. How can you forget that? Marion S. Marion.
He named himself that, kind of as a kind of a divorcing of the past.
Oh, okay.
He spent some time in Jerusalem, so he moved all around in Europe before landing in the United States. And so before he'd gotten here, he renamed himself.
Okay.
That hat looks European.
Yeah, it's a pretty funky hat, huh?
It actually looks kind of Jewish too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, we've got one more. Well, actually, we have two more, but one more portrait of, this is someone we do know who he is, and I cannot speak German. I'm not going to attempt. Does anyone speak German?
9.
Yeah, that's about as, yeah. This is was a famous Austrian-Hungary, I believe, playwright and actor. And this artist, he worked for the New Yorker, and he specialized in caricatures of theatrical performers. So we've actually seen another one of his portraits that was in this particular collection of caricatures. This was last summer, so we're really diving back, of a diver, Australian diver, and it was her upside down, and she had been doing a dive. And so it was just kind of like a simple line with I want to say even like a swim cap on her. But we've looked at these caricatures of the this guy, kind of highlighting the trademarks of the different people. And so here the monocle was the trademark for this actor playwright.
So you said you don't know much about this actor, or?
No, and interestingly, they're on IMDb, the International Movie Database.
Right.
Okay, so you can like go and find stuff about this particular actor and playwright. There was not much written about him though, but he's still acknowledged on IMDb. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you're an IMDb-er like I am, but
well, he looks very Austrian.
Yeah, he has a very German feel to him.
Yes, he does.
So anyway, this was one of those portraits that the cartoonist made, and it kept in line with these theatrical caricatures he specialized in, black and white. All right, we've got one more, and of course we can't do anything without talking about Elliot Porter, right?
Yay.
So here is Elliot Porter. He wore glasses. And so this is not a photograph he took of himself. This is a photograph one of his students took of him or friends. And so anyway, this is one of the deep dives I went into. So the name, does anyone know the name of the style of this frame?
No.
Portrait.
This is a portrait. The style of photograph is a portrait. You are correct. But the glass frame glasses on his face. Do you know what that style is called?
No.
It's called Club Master. Okay.
Hmm.
So the glass shape itself was invented in the 40s. It became popular in the 50s and the 60s for intellectuals, which Elliot Porter would have been considered an intellectual. He was, had his MD from Harvard and decided to go a totally different route.
Elliot Porter's an MD?
From Harvard. So
Wow.
Oh, he's from Harvard. Oh.
Harvard, yeah. So he's got his glasses. It was kind of a reaction to like counterculture for what was trendy. This was now kind of these glass frames were kind of stereotypes to the intellect, to the icon. Malcolm X wore glasses like this.
Right.
And then in the 1980s, there was a revamp in this style because Ray-Ban got a hold of the got a hold of this style and put a little, like their little spin on it. So, I mean, it's still, there used to be, before Club Masters, they were called brow line style because it was a heavy plastic up here and then glass below. Then Ray-Ban got involved and they named them the Club Master. And then Ray-Ban has been kind of the one, they did not invent the style, but they've been the one that kind of has now been like the Wayfarer or the Aviators. Ray-Ban made it their own.
Yeah. I like the style of glasses, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and so that's part of this, initially they were for eyeglasses. Now you can get them in sunglasses. But they're now just associated with a pretty classic, classy, timeless look that is still popular today.
It
Looks intellectual. He looks intellectual.
It does.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Mad Men.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's when it would have been in style. Initially in like the 50s and the 60s.
Yes, some of the smart young boys in my high school wore those.
Yep. Yeah, it was for the intellect.
And hush puppy shoes.
Hush puppies.
Hush puppies.
They're nerds.
I love hush puppies.
So anyway, and then in the 70s, in the late 70s, so it kind of died out of, people would wear them, but they didn't have the popularity that they once had in the 50s and 60s. They kind of went not out of fashion, but out of popularity in the 70s. And then moonlighting with Bruce Willis in the late 1970s, he wore these best style glasses. And that's when Ray-Ban got
really?
that frame. Yeah. So it was Bruce Willis bringing back the fashion.
Well, I wonder what movie he was in.
Moonlighting? I don't know that one.
Moonlighting, yes, I know. That's a TV show, actually.
Oh, then television show. Okay, excuse me. So that his character in that wore those glasses.
It's amazing what a pair of frames will bring back in our memory.
I know. Yeah, so I think, we always see Elliot Porter from behind the lens, and I thought, well, now we get to see him, and he's wearing lenses.
Nice to meet you, Elliot.
I know.
Yeah,
he's a cutie. Cool. I think he's adorable.
He is.
So anyway, those are our our eyeglasses for today. Next week, we are back with bees.
We're back with what?
Bees, but like bees.
Bumblebees.
Bumblebees.
Honeybees.
Yeah, I thought bees, at least in my mind, bees I think would serve for so much inspiration for artistic work. At least in this collection, I stand corrected. So nothing crazy we'll be looking at, but we will be seeing bees.
All right.
Okay.
All right, friends. So have a good Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you all next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Eat a hot dog for me. I know we love hot dogs in this group. So.
Thanks, Peggy. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peggy.